After the dust settled last time out by the North Sea coast at Circuit Zandvoort, things are still at a high rate of adrenaline as we head to the hills of the Styrian Mountains in Austria as the Red Bull Ring sets the scene for what is round number 9 of the Sunday Grand Prix series for Lotus 79 action. And what's more, there might be a possibility that a championship could be wrapped up very, very, very soon. Hello everyone, welcome to the Global SimRacing Channel and welcome to the live coverage of what is set to be a fantastic event over 27 laps. My name's Alex Goldschmidt. Joining me in the booth today will be Joey Attlebury and our director behind the scenes will be Daniel Costello with cameras provided by Dougie Beard. It was a really, really interesting race last time out, just a handful of weeks ago at Circuit Zandvoort. But the Red Bull Ring has evolved since being opened back in July of 1969, reopened back in 2011 under the ownership of the late Red Bull Racing founder Dietrich Mateschitz. And since 2016, this particular circuit will provide a fantastic backdrop. But how do you tame it? Let's find out through our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to the Red Bull Ring. Located near Spielberg, Austria, this track began life in a much more fast and sweeping format. Having gone through multiple different owners, it eventually was snatched up by Red Bull and has its 3 different layouts you see today. While they range roughly between 1 to 2.5 miles in length, the thing they hold in common are fast straights, hard braking zones, and very few corners. In fact, the longest and most common layout, the Grand Prix course, has only 9 of them. Spots like Remus and Gosser are the most popular corners for overtakes, but both involve dramatic elevation changes. Each have their perils. Remus tends to see drivers make contact when the blind cutback often goes wrong, whereas Gosser tempts you into braking far too late, and the downhill nature shoots cars miserably into the gravel. A few swift bends still scatter the track, with turns like Lauda, Rent, or A1 really testing a driver's accuracy at high speeds. However, most of them don't send you off into the grass. Rather, there is a lot of paved runoff. But they often include some nasty curves most cars will want to avoid hitting, as they've been known to damage suspension and undertrays. A variety of types of racing compete here, with everything from lower Formula open-wheelers to motorcycles, touring cars, and all the way up to Formula One holding events regularly. Set among the gorgeously picturesque Alps, and including great racing on a challenging and history-rich circuit, it's easy to see why fans and drivers are both eager every time they come for a race.
Well, that is how the Red Bull Ring has evolved over the years, and it is going to provide us with a fantastic 27-lap race around this circuit. Opened back in July of 1969, measures just under 2.7 miles, 4.31 kilometres, and 10 turns here in Spielberg. Joey, this could see the longest draft train we're going to have, I think, all season long here in Lotus 79, wouldn't you agree?
I think so. It is a huge drafting track with multiple straightaways to really get pulled along in that huge hole in the air created by those aerodynamics on these 79 cars. Like you said, first opened back in 1969. Turn number 1 actually looks like a good passing opportunity, but it's got kind of a closing funnel effect, really call it, in the middle of the corner throughout the exit. Look towards the top of the hill. Turn number 3. I think that's your best passing opportunity as it's your highest top speed going into the sharpest, slowest corner on this racetrack. Be careful about wheel spin, putting the power down coming out of the exit of turn number 3, because that also affects your run going down the hill to turn number 4. Another great passing opportunity, but this one has got a downhill brake zone, so it can be easy to kind of get in a little bit too deep there and wander yourself out into the gravel. Sector 3 on this racetrack is more of the high-speed flowing corners going in through 7 and then also out through the final 2 corners, 9 and 10. Speaking of those 2 corners, turn number 9, relatively straightforward. Just keep it on the track. On drivers left on the exit, don't go over those limits there. But turn number 10 can be very, very difficult. Make sure not to hit that apex curb. It can really upset the platform. And then if you carry too much speed, you can find yourself fighting to keep the car on the racetrack on drivers left on that exit. So the high-speed corners can be very, very tricky around this place.
Yep, and more to the point, we've got some housekeeping. We've got the standings to look through. And Andreas Henkel, who took the win back at Circuit Zandvoort last time out, is 1 step away. The first match point of the season. for Andreas, as he's got 583 points. Pauli Partanen in second position, with Togo Hisada rounding out the top 3. If memory serves me correctly, I think there's either 3 or 4 drop rounds. But if Andreas Henkel takes 4th or higher, and there's no bonus points for Pauli Partanen, Andreas will wrap this up with just 3 rounds to go. The next round will be at the Hockenheim ring. You've got Michael de Turk, who's been given the good luck shout out in the Discord chat by Joey. He rounds out P4 ahead of Gunnar Fritsche with Mikko Laino, Jacob Reed, Ross Banfield, Kimmo Villiakainen and Timothy Reed rounding out the top 10 in the F1 driver standings. Then we go to F2. Ryan Turcott leads the way on 155 points, with Mike Christopher Jr. in second, 18 points adrift. Thomas Silbernagel with Juanmi Saramayo rounding out the top 4. Matthew Cockerham rounding out the top 5, 81 points adrift of Turcott. Mark Sebastian, Josephine Becker, Philip Kuhnhardt, Björn Ackermann and Hans Sommer round out the top 10 in the standings, covered by 102 points. Then we go to the team standings. Parmelo, which is the pairing of Gunnar Fritsche and Russell Hamilton, on 356, and they're closely being hounded by the McLaren pairing of Mikko Laino and David Tomaski. Ligier Gitan with Keith Hunter and Paul J. Williams rounding out the top 3 ahead of Arstein at Arrows, Scuderia Ferrari, Tissot Ensign, TVR Racing, Walter Wolf, JPS Team Lotus and Equipe Renault Elf rounding out the top 10. We're getting into the final throws of the 8-minute qualifying session here at the Red Bull Ring. Lap time set to be around about 1 minute 18, but it's round 9 out of 12, 27 laps of this nearly 2.7 mile circuit. Open setups, no spare car, drive through at 17x, disqualification at 25x. And as we head into the final couple of minutes here in time qualifying, Joey, things are looking rather close between the top 15, covered by about 1.4 seconds around this circuit, but Andreas Henkel is leading the march in time qualifying. He's looking to wrap up the title very early indeed.
I think I got to go all the way back to 18th place before we see a car that is further than 1.5 seconds off of that pole time by Andreas Henkel. And that time, a 1:18.390. So definitely got this thing run up right now. And actually, as I say that, Juho Raina snuck up into the top 10. He's got a 6th place effort as we watch Gernot Friesche try to complete his 2nd qualifying lap.
Yeah, and there is Gunnar Fritsche running in the number 2, the wonderful Brabham BT42 style livery, with the Parmalat livery on their Alfa Romeo showing, even though these are all powered by, these are all Lotus 79 cars. And you can see coming through turns 9 and into 10, Gunnar using a lot of runoff area and just trying to keep it 2 wheels within track limits as he fires it towards the start-finish line. And Gunnar goes up into 16th place on a 19.819, heads into turn 1, which you and I both know, Joey, the amount of commentary we've done between the pair of us, that it's a sign of desperation when you try and fire it up the inside of turn 1, but you've got to be very careful of the sausage curbs on the outside.
I think you have to be careful everywhere in that corner, because if you kind of take it easy on the beginning half, like you said, you might find somebody sneaking it up the inside, which is not typically the best passing opportunity. I think I agree with you. Focus on the exit and really that drive down that long straightaway up the hill towards what is turn number 3. That's going to be your best, call it, setup for a pass. Now this is Gernot Friesche. He's rounding what is turn number 6. I think that this point in the racetrack is where it shows its second face, right? Sectors 1 and 2, it's all start-stop with those huge straightaways, but through 6, now 7, and now here through 8, it is put your foot flat to the floor. I see over 150 miles an hour rolling speed, 160 before you have to breathe off of that throttle. Go through what is turn number 9, and then this compression right here, turn number 10, keep it on the racetrack and get that drive forward down this front straightaway. Unfortunately, Gernot Friesche is not going to advance. I'm sorry, he did. He snuck up into 8th, just barely at the limit right there.
Yeah, over 0.8 of a second behind, but Andreas Henkel takes pole position at a crucial point in this Sunday Grand Prix series. And here's the starting grid. Andreas Henkel, joined by Togo Hisada on the front row with Pauli Partonen and JD Rodriguez rounding out row 2. Nick Thyssen and Raul Roses Gardia round out row 3. Timothy Reed and Gunnar Fritsche round out row 4 with Juho Rainer and Kimmo Villiakainen rounding out the top 10. We then turn the page with Paul J. Williams and Michael de Turk rounding out row number 6. Memo Moreno and Karthik Pai round out row 7. Jack David Spickett and Gabri Martinez round out row 8. Dylan Freckleton and Connor Tolman round out row 9 with Alessandro Parigi and Logan Edwards rounding out the top 20. 28 cars set to take to this grid with Daniel Gallis, Jakub Obrozlak, Jonathan Lopez, Hamilton Barrera Ruiz, Daniel Gomez, AJ Roper III, Marco Keller and Mikko Laino, who didn't get a lap time set in qualifying. But, well, we all know that when it comes to racing, things are going to be very, very different. We're waiting for everyone to ready up on the grid here ahead of 27 laps of this 2.683 mile, 4.31 kilometre circuit, 10 turns in all, and it's going to be about who gets the best run off of the start phase. And it is going to be in traditional single-seater Formula 1 style fashion, standing start. Pauli Partonen yet to jump into the 3rd position. Kimmo Villiakainen down to start in 10th. And people getting the throttles blipped a little bit. A lovely roar from these Lotus 79 cars. Obrozlak, I think, has yet to hit the grid, but pretty much everyone is waiting for those red lights to come onto the gantry. And when we go green, we will be underway for 27 laps here at the Red Bull Ring. Everyone's on starting orders. The revs build. And they are released. We're underway here for 27 laps. Good start by Andreas Henkel. As Togo Hisada has Pauli Partonen round to the outside here at T1. The Finn makes it through rather easily. 2-3 wide as they exit out of turn 1. Some are having to use the runoff area. Big old incident in the background. Hamilton Barrera Ruiz and Jonathan Lopez involved. But Henkel got the whole shot he needed. Meantime, battle between the likes of Hisada, who's got Rodriguez looking up the inside. Nick Thyssen holding on to 5th place, but he's going to get the slingshot coming out of turn 3. Originally known as Remus, now as AMS AG. But Partonen and Hisada are closing in on Henkel, who's looking to make it another race victory in a row at this early stage.
Henkel is just trying to run away as we see kind of the traffic jam, all that accordion effect down at what is turn number 4. When all these cars are so close together on that opening lap, you can oftentimes get those accordion effects. I saw half a wing missing from Kimmo Villiakainen's car, that white and purple machine kind of in the middle of the field, so he definitely had contact at least somewhere in those opening few corners. Yeah, we head back to the battle for 7th and 8th. Raul Rosas Gardia closing in on Juho Rainer in the number 10 car as they come out of turn number 10. So we complete lap number 1, and the lead that Andreas Henkel has in the moment is just under 7/10 of a second. Pauli Partonen and Togo Hisada rounding out the top 3. Nick Thyssen and JD Rodriguez. We've had a drama for Jonathan Lopez and Logan Edwards in the meantime, so they may have had a little bit of a coming together, so they're both down pit road. But yeah, as we were saying, Joey, in the build-up to this race, yeah, there you see Gunnar Fritsche looking for the move up the inside of Villiakainen, who's got no left side of that front wing, and Fritsche's being closed in on by JD Spickett in the number 17 car, running in the Wolf livery, and then of course we got the 2 behind him, Memo Moreno and Karthik Pai, both running in the Camel Lotus style, as we saw back in the days when Ayrton Senna used to run with the Hethel-based team. Gunnar Fritsche has lost a position though to Spickett, and Spickett now gunning for Villiakainen to get through on him. JDS's car looks very fast here in these opening couple laps. I know traditionally he can kind of crank the downforce in, and look at the run that it's actually already got. This is Michael de Turk kind of on the back end of this train here, but there goes JDS sneaking by Kimmo Villiakainen up there, so moves Spickett up into a top 10 position. I do think that Kimmo is just going to kind of be the cork in the bottle here. You saw the front half of the wing missing, and it might be able to maybe get a little bit more top speed because he doesn't have the downforce. There's Michael de Turk going head first into turn number 1. No, Mikey, no!
Oh dear, and there is one of the cars, that's the number 9 with 3 wheels on its wagon, that's Karthik Pai. Well, we saw Michael going literally high, wide and over the top, so to speak. Memo Moreno finds himself dumped all the way down to 20th position, but both Michael and Karthik are in pit lane, and well, let's just say that Michael just went for a gap and it didn't quite pan out as planned.
No, I'm sure that we'll get the replay of it as we see Moreno have a lockup down there in turn number 4. So getting a few little issues here. Kind of the kinks worked out early on. Remember, this still is only lap number 3. These cars do have tremendous amounts of grip on those opening laps, but it still takes a couple laps to get the pressures up, to get the tire temperatures up, and honestly, to kind of get the brain set right inside the driver's helmet there. So I think another couple laps, things will smooth out.
Yeah, some of the drivers going through Rauch and Wörth, which then leads into the final couple of corners. Of course, Rindt being the penultimate corner, named after the only driver to posthumously be awarded the F1 title, Jochen Rindt. And then, of course, Red Bull Mobile, the last of the corners. But we've got this great battle here between Reiner and Gardia. This is the battle for 7th and 8th, as they are not too far behind the likes of Timothy Reed in 5th, who's made up 2 spots. JDS has made up 5 places. Marco Keller, however, has bolted up the order. 13 spots gained from 27th and now runs 14th, ahead of Connor Tolman in the number 27. AJ Roper III, the Canadian driver, up from 26, now runs 16th. So a lot of people moving up the order. Henkel's bolted early doors and has got about a 2-second advantage over Pauli Partanen, with Togo Hisada, the Japanese driver, closing it on the fin. So the battle between these two could be for the scraps for the championship top 3. But Henkel, at the moment, he put it on pole in qualifying, and the way he's driving the wheels off of the number 1 car, it looks like his form is rather imperious. We're going to go to a lap 1 replay here, courtesy of GSRC. And, oh, well, Hamilton Pereira was... that was more than a punt. That was a proper yeet into the air, and the driver the driver did not have good luck there in the number 12, running the old Chip Ganassi IndyCar liveries. Yeah, that was not good. Dylan Freckleton manages to get a position, moves up to 17th place. That was on Alessandro Parigi, who also has got a missing left side of the front wing, but helps with top speed a little bit there, Joey.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of speculating. Typically, when you knock the downforce off of a machine, that's going to be less drag, less stuff to push through the air. So theoretically, you should have a little bit more on the top end. I do think that as well as Spickett, Freckleton here in the purple machine can pack on the downforce and really closes the door. Contact between himself and Parigi. Parigi is able to kind of escape down the road, but Dylan has that little halt of a momentum, actually loses a few positions because of it.
Yeah, so another GSRC replay coming up, and well, this is going to be the incident with Mikey, and bang, it's sidewall contact. He barrels over the number 9 of Karthik Pai, then goes into the path of Memo Moreno, and well, yeah, that's all she wrote there for Michael de Turk. But Connor Tolman's getting a wriggle on at the minute. He's trying to close in, and he's looking up the inside of Kimmo Villiakainen, and that's going to be at turn number 1. Good move there by the number 27, in the old Benetton style livery that was used by the likes of Alessandro Nannini back in the late 1980s. I might remember the Japanese Grand Prix when Prost and Senna came together. Who was the guy that was leading after the restart? Well, it was Alessandro Nannini, and still got passed in the Casio triangle by Ayrton Senna. Meantime, good scrap here, going on for around 18th spot here, Joey. And we're seeing, again, Freckleton going very brave with the side-by-side action at the top of the circuit.
And once again, I'm completely speculating here, but just the way that Dylan can make those forceful moves into the brake zone and then also be able to put the power down, It just kind of leans to tell me that he's running maybe a little bit more grip in the car, maybe a little bit more wing angle in the car, and have the confidence to be able to do that. And then once again, here through these very, very fast sweeping corners, he's able to close up on this car right here of Daniel Gomez. Now, Daniel's got the other problem directly in front. This car doesn't have any front-end downforce. He's going to take advantage going into the fast sweeping turn number 9. He gets the place, and now Freckleton is going to make some contact to the side pod in turn number 10, and there he goes straight through for that spot.
Yeah, we're now on to lap 7 out of 27. These laps are going to rapidly fly by as Prix loses, is hemorrhaging places. That was Daniel Gallis in the JPS Team Lotus livery, but Gallis runs wide coming out of turn 1, having thrown it up the inside, went a little bit too deep on the braking zone, and I don't think hit the brake pedal in time. Now they go into turn 3. This could be the opportunity that Gallis could use to get through on Prix. Of course, no downforce with regards to Parigi's front wing, as you can see, one half of what it was. And Gallis does also have a little bit of damage in his own right. Lock up in front, not too sure if that might have been Freckleton or Obrozlak, or maybe even Gomez, but there's Timothy Reed in the battle chasing down Nick Thiessen. So this is going to be an interesting battle as they kick up the grass coming out of turn number 10. Henkel with another new fastest lap. His lead over Pauli Partonen now stretches to just a shade over 3 seconds. And I think really Henkel's got everything to gain, nothing to lose here, so to speak, even though it might be the first provisional match point of the season. There's a lot of real estate between himself and maybe Daniel Gallis, who was the last driver on the lead lap. The top 21 drivers covered by just a shade under 30 seconds. But this battle between Nick Thiessen, Timothy Reed, and then the also ever foreclosing JD Rodriguez in the number 16 car, that's going to be 2's company, 3's the crown very shortly there, Joey.
Yeah, and yeah, like you said, it's going to be a party here pretty quickly. Nick Thiessen, I think, is doing a tremendous job, especially just kind of with that pressure that both of those red cars are kind of applying in the mirror. And here comes Dylan Freckleton once again trying to make that move down to the inside of turn number 4. This is Daniel Gomez. This kind of 3-pack has been locked in this battle for what is a handful of laps, and now almost contact again. So Freckleton, I think, is at this point where he feels like he's a little bit faster than all these cars. He's made these passes maybe once already, and his patience is just kind of starting to wear thin right now. But remember, everybody's on the playground at the same time. You can't just go elbowing your way through.
Yeah, it's not a karting race, that's for damn sure, but I do like the little touch he's got. You can't hurry love. The love's been crossed out, and then you got Lotus struck through with probably what looks like a red Sharpie pen. But Freckleton's going to try for the move here if he can through into turn 1. Holds back, waits for it. And obviously going up the hill here. Oh, bit of a wiggle there as he exited out on the sausage curbs, did Daniel Gomez. Gives Freckleton the opportunity for a slipstream. And Obrozlak is just waiting. The wings dive to the inside of turn 3 by Dylan Freckleton and loses all that momentum. And it's 2 for the price of 1 for the number 20 of Obrozlak that gets through on the pair of them. But Freckleton's coming back at him.
Down to the inside, and here we go. Is this going to be Gomez? I thought about taking it 3 wide, definitely had the opportunity, and now Freckleton almost some more side-to-side contact with those wheels between himself and Obrozlak, but I think that Dylan finally is going to be able to clear himself. Don't drive it in too deep right here for an over-under for that chance from Jacob right behind, and I think that Dylan Freckleton kind of turn off that proverbial virtual rear-view mirror, focus out the visor directly in front of you, nail these next 2 corners. Here comes Obrozlak poking the nose. Freckleton closes the door.
That was a definite code brown moment there for Dylan Freckleton as they exit out of the final corner. And it's 3 in a row, as in line astern pretty much, as Raul Guardia trying to get through as Reina keeps it pinned to the outside. Juha Reina, the Finn, one of a handful of, well, we've got multiple flying Finns in this race. Of course, Mikko Laino out on the second lap well, just coming on to lap 3, as this is going to be side by side again. And also with the addition of the debris model that we've now got here on the iRacing server. Of course, there's a lot of drivers here coming through out of Verth and heading through turns 7 and 8, and they are kicking up the dust a little bit from the kitty litter on the right-hand side.
This battle between Guardia and Reina is definitely starting to light up here. I don't know if you caught that, but down in turn number 4, almost made contact between these two cars. I think it was actually Reina trying to make the pass on the outside, trying to close into that apex, and almost made a race-ending contact with what is that number 15 car. So it brings in Paul Williams, who we're riding on board with right now, up through this tricky turn number 1 where we saw those several incidents earlier today. Everybody actually gets a nice run. I think it's going to be looking towards maybe the exit of turn number 3. As I say that, Reina in that slipstream, gonna pop out drivers right, but you see Rodriguez here take it in super deep. Guardia's gonna fight back on the outside, but now Reina's gonna out-accelerate down into turn number 4.
Yeah, slight sidewall scrape from the right front to the left rear, and Reina still holds on the position. Of Schlossgold here at turn number 4. That is the run through into the next left-hander, and now again, Guardia looking to the inside of Reina. Reina keeping it pinned to the outside, holding his line, whilst holding his nerve, of course. And Guardia just has to slot back in, but this is allowing Paul Williams to close on in as they head to the final couple of corners here on the circuit, turns 9 and 10. Very much very similar to the double right at the Hockenheim ring. And Henkel is putting in qualifying style laps. He's now done an 18.945. Pauli Partonen is 4.5 seconds back and really has no answer as we're fast approaching the halfway point of this 9th round out of 12. But this is a fantastic 3-way scrap for 7th place between Reina, Guardia and Williams. And Williams is just playing the patience game here, Joey. He doesn't want to, he just wants to see what carnage happens in front and then take full advantage of it.
And Reina has actually moved up a couple spots while Guardia, in call it the majority blue car, the number 15 with the red highlights here, he's actually slipped down a couple spots from where he qualified. So it's kind of the mental game too, right? Reina feels like he probably is a little bit faster, whether that's the race car or just kind of the first dozen laps here. Maybe feels like he's got a little bit more pace, so he's been able to make those passes, make his way up through the field and into the clean air, while it's kind of the other situation for Guardia. He might feel that he just hasn't been able to put together those first 10 laps. His qualifying effort is more representative of his race pace, but it just hasn't been able to come together. So even though that Reina got by that number 15, it certainly seems like Raul out there not wanting to give up the fight just yet.
So we're on to lap 13 out of 27 here at the Red Bull Ring. A big thank you to everyone watching on the Global SimRacing Channel. Thank you for joining us for what is a fantastic single-seater adventure around these particular hills, and they are definitely alive. The sound of Lotus 79 as we get this wonderful helicam shot heading up the hill through the what is effectively turns 1, 2 and 3. So into turn 3 they go once again at the top of the hill. And Reina just seems to be able to put that traction down that little bit better coming out of the corner. Of course, these cars are old school. No ABS, no traction control. We go back to the battle with Daniel Gomez, Dylan Freckleton, and et al. This is with Daniel Gallis, whereas Alessandro Parighi has basically dropped off the face of a cliff as he's way back where Daniel Gomez keeps Daniel Gallis at bay coming out of turn 3. They look to be closing in. Just wondering who was ahead of Freckleton when he's got Obraslak, who's actually put him a little bit in the dust, so to speak, by about 1.5 seconds. But some wonderful onboard shots. A big thank you to Daniel Costello, our director behind the scenes. And again, Henkel is just going 11 tenths at the moment. He just wants to put on a dominant display.
I like kind of throwing in Daniel Costello, our director. So we got a Daniel viewing Daniel Gomez, battling Daniel Gallis for Dylan Freckleton. It's about 4 Ds if I count it right there. And Freckleton, actually, he's getting the pressure now. Oh, and there's contact between the two cars. That's between Gomez and Freckleton out there, and unfortunately, Dylan is going to be even more in a hole. He's going to have to dig himself out. This is just one of those races that everything seems to go wrong for that purple machine.
Yeah, the wonderful bright metallic purple with the TVR livery adorned on it. Kind of reminds me of the XJR15 that Jaguar used to run in the World Sports Car Championship, with the likes of Martin Brundle having piloted that particular vehicle. Meantime, we head to the battle for P2 at the moment. Pauli Partanen versus Togo Hisada. And this is as close as it's been so far all race long. Looks like the Japanese driver closing it on the fin is really putting the hammer down.
I really like what I've seen out of Togo Hisada this season. Now, typically we see him over there in the 49s dominating, multi-time champion in those cars, but you got to remember, no aerodynamics in those 49s. These 79s a completely different machine, and Togo always comes over and races here, but maybe not putting in as much practice time in these machines as the other 49s. So good to see him this season really pick up the pace. He's been on the podium multiple times, and here he is right in the slipstream challenging one of the best, Pauli Partanen, and you see kind of showing the nose in the brake zone. Doesn't make a huge lunge yet. He's just kind of presenting the car to Pauli and saying, hey, you know, I am right here. I know Hankel's down the road, but this is still second place, and I want it.
Yeah, and considering the fact in Japan at the moment it's 2 in the morning on Monday, so that just goes to show that in the world of sim racing, it doesn't matter what time zone you're in, what time of the day it might be. It could be early morning, it could be afternoon, it could be night time. The amount of, let's say, Japanese spirit that this man has, just to make sure that he's there and to keep within 3.5 tenths of a second of Pauli Partanen, that's an impressive run in its own right. And as you rightly said there, Joey, with the 49s and the 79s, 2 completely different animals in their own respect, but Togo's really come of age this season.
I think that's why it's so special, right, is they drive so completely different, and to be competitive in both of them, I think it's Togo finally, I wouldn't say kind of making the step out of 49s, but it's a new challenge, right? It's a new mountain to climb. So it's good to see him step out of that car that he's so familiar with, get into another new machine, and not be in the middle of the field. Be the typical Togo Hisada that we see in battling up front for those podiums and for those wins.
Well, unfortunately, the TVR machine, the number 14 of Dylan Freckleton, is in pit road, and I think might have suffered a bit of a calamity just a few moments ago. Has been in on his marks in the pit lane for just over 60 seconds. Got 12 to go, and we've got a nice little battle here. This is the battle between Gabriel Martinez and Connor Tolman. This is for 12th spot. So so Martinez trying to keep Tolman at bay, and Tolman looks to the outside into the next right as they go down the hill once again. That was coming out of turn number 4, and then heading into the double right coming up here. And Tolman again sticks the nose up the inside. Martinez gets a little bit of a wiggle whilst trying to apply the power. Tolman dives to the inside again, but Martinez able to hold the line. Is Tolman going to fire it around the outside in towards Rindt here at turn number 9? They are wheel to wheel. They're over the crest. Martinez to the inside, Tolman to the outside, and once again Tolman is thwarted, having to go a little bit on the counter-attack, and now he gets the switchback through out at the final corner. He could get the side draft here on Gabriel Martinez as they're wheel-to-wheel across the line. Tolman makes the move, and he's going to get the inside line here for turn 1. Martinez is going to throw it high, wide, and handsome to the outside. They both are still wheel-to-wheel up the hill, and closing in on them is the number 8 of Marco Kela from Finland. They're still wheel-to-wheel up into turn 3. Millimetre perfect by the pair. Martinez to the outside, Tolman to the inside. Martinez gets the run out of turn 3 rather nicely, but Tolman's still got that very important inside line, as Keller could do the pair of them very shortly.
Turn number 4 could be the deciding factor here in this battle. Martinez takes it in way deep versus Connor Tolman, kind of giving up the first half of the corner, and there it was, decided in turn number 4. I say that as Tolman now throws it down the inside, makes a little bit of contact with that left rear wheel of Martinez. Going to push him way out outside of the racing line. Looks like Tolman finally has that position, but watch out for Martinez. He is literally tucked up underneath the rear wing of Tolman. This is deja vu, except the spots are reversed around Tolman now on the right side. Martinez just gets out of shape on the exit out there in the marbles and has to give up the spot even to Kayla.
Yep, and picture in picture, you see the battle for P4 and P5. Nick Peterson and Timothy Reed have very much been inseparable all race long. We've got 10 to go here at the Red Bull Ring for round 9 of the Classic Lotus Grand Prix, Sunday Grand Prix Series. The Lotus 79s front and centre on your screens, picture in picture. And Gabriel Martinez has now hemorrhaged a bit of time after the battle with Tolman and Marco Keller, with Keller getting through on the number 19, heading through the final turn. As Timothy Reed closing in once again on Nick Peterson, as still this battle has been, I wouldn't say at a stalemate, Joey. I'd say it's stabilised to the point where Timothy Reed is closing, but Nick Peterson again doing another great defensive masterclass.
Just being as what I call an immovable rock, right? Go run your pace and kind of whatever your pace is, don't overstep your limit, right? Because that's when you get in trouble. Make everybody else overstep that limit. Go and force them around you, and as long as you're right smack on the racing line and hitting every mark, right? You hit every brake zone, don't blow any apexes, roll onto the throttle nicely, and it should just be a nice cohesive battle. And here we go, Togo finally making the move on Pauli Partanen, gets to the inside, and I think he's gonna get that acceleration zone. He gets up into second.
Domo arigato Hisarasa. That was a beautiful move there at turn number 3, and he finally, with 9 to go on the lap counter, Togo Hisada makes the move on Pauli Partanen, and it's not been looking back at the standings between the pair. Togo Hisada is 134 points behind Pauli Partanen coming into this 9th round out of 12. And then we've got Raul Gardia again, still battling away with Juha Rainer. Paul Williams has been just waiting and biding his time. Kick of the dust by Gardia coming out of turn number 5, turn number 6 and 7. And you can just see how hard these drivers are pushing, folks. This is no picnic in a Lotus 79 car.
And it kind of goes back to what you were just saying maybe a minute ago with the other battle between Thyssen and Reed and also Paul Williams here that's just kind of sitting there. These cars, I don't want to call it a DRS train because guess what? They don't have the DRS. However, you can have that dirty air effect. So let's say if you get a car out there with the high top end speed that's leading the train, it's easy to pull along 1, 2, maybe even 3 cars. But then when it comes time to actually make those passes, it can become very, very difficult to make that spot up because you're not there in the brake zone. You got to use other areas of the racetrack to really close it in. So it's not a DRS train, but it's a similar effect.
Yeah, a ground effect train, I think, considering these Lotus 79s, how they generate the downforce. Marco Keller has got Gabriel Martinez diving back up the inside of him, through at turn 3. Martinez goes sideways. Keller has to avoid, and that was AJ Roper the third, who's made up 12 places, as has Keller. Well, Keller was up 13 spots before the Canadian threw it up the inside of the fin when Martinez got a bit sideways, applying the power coming out of turn number 3. So Gabriel Martinez retains 13th spot for the moment. This is the battle for 13th, 14th and 15th as we are 7 to go. And well, the top 6, well, maybe make that the top 10 very shortly, will be on the 20th lap out of 27. As once again, this battle here, Rainer versus Guardia versus Williams. This is also a battle that we've seen, you know, the pendulum swing between Rainer and Guardia, but more to the point, it is, as Joey was saying, that there is this effect, but Guardia trying to go round the outside at turn 3. That could open the door for Williams, but Williams unable to take advantage. He might have got a little bit of wheel spin whilst applying the power. As I said, no ABS, no traction control. This is when you had to use that mechanical grip, and Guardia trying to dive up the inside here at turn number 4 on Rainer. Rainer cut across the front of Guardia very, very neatly in the number 10, and Williams is still wondering when his opportunity is going to present itself. Sometimes it's not about making that opportunity, Joey. It's about seeing what opportunity gets presented to you front and center.
Yeah, and sometimes it can fall into your lap, right? Sometimes you have to go up there and force the mistake, but sometimes it's just kind of applying enough pressure that they're constantly looking over the shoulder, and all of a sudden they miss a brake zone by 5 feet, and that's all you need is just that little crack of the door open in order to be able to kind of make that move. And I do think that this trio right here is coming up on a lapped car. I don't think it's going to necessarily affect anybody. It's been good to see this battle between what is Reina and Guardia, because remember, it was Reina that forced that pass, call it halfway through this race, and I thought maybe he was going to set sail, but it really has been Raul fighting back, just kind of staying in the slipstream, and there's that kind of a few lines in turn number 3. Talking with Michael de Turk before the show, he said that there's definitely a potential of wheel spin at the top of turn number 3, and that can affect these runs going down the hill as you see Guardia really take it deep, but you can kind of get suckered out into the outside of the track there in turn number 4. That downhill does kind of come to a compression, but if you're too far out, there's really nowhere to go with it.
Yeah, the lap car they passed, I think, was the 22 of Memo Moreno, as Andreas Henkel has got now what will be 5 to go until the checkered crosses the stripe, and is now 10 seconds ahead of Togo Hisada, who finally, after pretty much over 2/3 distance, he managed to get through on Pauli Partonen. That will close the gap for second in the standings, but what can we say about this man? I mean, Andreas Henkel, dominant as that, got, even though he had dramas, I think, at Zandvoort last time out, he still went on to win the race last time out. But Joey, 3 respective splits, I think, close to 80 drivers. I mean, the popularity of the Sunday Grand Prix series with the Lotus 79s has just been on a tear. More people joining up to what is a fantastic series.
It's been hugely popular, and you're right, we had about 85, almost 90 drivers registered here for the Strength of Field race, and we have had 3 full splits throughout this entire season. I think we're on round, 9 of 12 here, and it's been 30 cars, 32 cars. We've even tempted with 4 splits at some of these really, really popular tracks, and I love to see it. It's brought in more competition. It's brought in more new drivers. And these 79s, guess what? They're sticking around because they're so much fun to drive now with the new tire. I think that iRacing has done a great job with this vintage car.
It's not been an easy race, though, for Kimmo Villiakainen, who for pretty much all of the race so far, as we have completed 23 out of 27 laps, with our race leader Andreas Henkel now on lap 24 out of 27, so 4 to go, including this one. It's been a race for Villiakainen to forget, and obviously he wasn't the only one that had damage to the left side of the front wing. Alessandro Parigi, who we saw in action earlier on and at various points during the race, has also ended up to round out the top 20. And yeah, I mean, it still goes to show that there's, you might not have all your weapons sharp, but there's still a lot of fight left in the dog, so to speak, and Kimmo Villiakainen's doing the best he can. Meantime, battle for 4th has become a 3-car race, as Nick Thiessen has pulled away ever so slightly on Timothy Reed, who's now got JD Rodriguez closing in on his rear diffuser. Oh, Rodriguez trying to apply the power out of turn 6, nearly swapped front with back axle there.
What's most interesting to me about this is actually the single car they're catching. You see that white car that just slipped out of frame? That's Pauli Partonen. Remember, he was up in 2nd place for the majority of this race. Ever since Togo Hisada was able to get by, Togo has kind of said peace out and driven up the road, and that has just left Pauli Partonen here in 3rd place. That's not a big deal until you look in the mirror, until you see that Nick Thiessen is closing in, Timothy Reed is faster, JD Rodriguez is the caboose on that draft train. So if I'm Pauli Partonen, I see 3 laps to go and I say, okay, I can hang on to this, but limit any sort of mistakes.
Yeah, like you said, it's a bit of a damage limitation kind of situation here for Pauli Partonen, because Nick Thiessen always seems to really up the pace in the latter stages of every Sunday Grand Prix Series event that we've seen him compete in here on the Global SimRacing Channel, as Paul Williams now alongside Raul Guardia into turn number 4, and Guardia still trying to get one up on Juho Rainer. I mean, Rainer's just kept it nice and calm and kept it on the racing line. There's a sense of urgency now from Williams and a sense of desperation from Guardia, who wants to put a car in between himself and the number 18, but Williams is not letting go of that carrot that is quite literally being dangled in front of him, as we've got 2 to go here at the Red Bull Ring.
It's pretty impressive watching these cars kind of carve through that turn number 4. That's where we saw Williams kind of poke it up the inside of his blue and red number 15 directly in front of him, but just the grip from these tires, the little bit of aero that is down there at turn number 4, because it is a slower speed corner, but it's just fun to watch these cars kind of carve through that machine area. Now we watch Paul Williams really tucked up behind Guardia. I think that Raul might have a little bit of some help from that slipstream directly in front of him based off of Reina's car, helping him with that top speed. And as we've seen all race long, I think that he's very aggressive on those brakes as well.
Yeah, looks like Paul Williams again trying to get the traction coming out of turn number 3, but it's not quite working for the number 18, running in the Ligier Gitan livery. But very shortly, our race leader, Andreas Henkel, has not put a foot wrong so far here at the Red Bull Ring. Took the victory last time out at round 8 at Circuit Zandvoort. As we head onto the white flag lap, Andreas Henkel has been dominant with supreme confidence here in Styria at Spielberg, and he crosses the line with an 11-second lead with Togo Hisada, Pauli Partanen, Nick Thyssen, Timothy Reed, JD Rodriguez, Juho Rainer, Raul Guardia, Paul Williams and JDS Jack David Spickett rounding out the top 10, but the final lap is very much underway, and the number 1 makes his way up the hill in towards turn number 3. He's just not done anything to put a potential championship at risk here. He came into this with a 50-point advantage, and I'm sure that Andreas Henkel will be a very, very happy man when we head to the Hockenheim Ring Outer on, in just a week's time on February 23rd. Williams and Guardia side by side. That's at turn 3. Williams has got the outside line and he's going to try and see what he can do, but Andreas Henkel very, very quick. He's been putting in consistently fast laps. He's been in the mid to low 1-minute 18s all race long, and Andreas Henkel, he took the win at Circuit Zandvoort. He comes out of the final corner from lights out to checkered flag from pole position. Andreas Henkel is once again victorious here in the Sunday Grand Prix series for Lotus 79. And well done to Togo Hisada taking second. Pauli Partanen will hang on to round out the overall top 3 in what has been a 27-lap extravaganza here at Spielberg. Paul Williams, close but no cigar there for the Brit. Finishing behind Juho Rainer and Raul Guardia. Nick Thyssen and Timothy Reed round out the top 5. AJ Roper, one of the biggest movers of the day, along with Marco Keller, who he's going to finish behind. Marco Keller started 27th, so on the penultimate spot on the grid. Will take home 13th. AJ Roper III will be 14th ahead of Daniel Gomez, and still Kimmo Viliakainen battling away with Daniel Gallis. This is going to be for 16th and 17th, as Daniel Gomez will round out the top 15 positions. Viliakainen will remember this one as a race to forget, but will come back fighting at Hockenheim Ring Outer in just 7 days' time. But, well, that was a great race. Dominance once again from Andreas Henkel. No penalty to serve this time for the number 1, and he made it work.
It was just well managed from out front, and not only well managed, but talk about incredible pace from Andreas Henkel to be able to break that slipstream from himself and Togo Hisada, as well as Pauli Partanen. And these are your official results with, as we said, that number 1 car taking that top spot. Togo Hisada finishing in second. Pauli Partanen right here in the 3rd place, rounding out the podium. Nick Thyssen in 4th place. Only ended up about 3/4 of a second behind Pauli. So great run in the back half of the race there for Nick, as well as Timothy Reed and JD Rodriguez, all part of that trio of a train catching up to the front. Juho Raina had a huge battle all race long with Guardia, who finishes in 8th place right behind Juho in 7th. Paul Williams was the caboose and really made a fight in that last couple of laps with Guardia. Finishes in 9th with Jack David Spickett back here in 10th place, Alex.
Yep, Gernot Fritsch running out 11th, ahead of Connor Tolman, who was also in his fair share of battles over the course of the race. Marco Keller, 14 spots gained from the penultimate position on the grid to finish 13th, ahead of AJ Roper, with Daniel Gomez 15th. Kimmo Villiakainen, despite having a damaged left side of the front wing, kept battling away and finishing just over a minute behind our race winner, Andreas Henkel, down in 16th. Daniel Gallis also had to contend with damage. He would finish 17th, ahead of Jakub Obrozlak, Gabri Martinez, who all finished on the lead lap as our race winner Andreas Henkel. Alessandro Parigi finished a lap down. Jonathan Lopez out on lap 25. Dylan Freckleton lap 24. Well, they still came across the line. Dylan spent 2 trips down pit road. Memo Moreno, Logan Edwards, Michael de Turk, Kalthik Pai, Mikolaino, and Hamilton Barrera Ruiz, unfortunately being yeeted to the stratosphere on the opening lap at turn number 1. Well, what a thing you can say about a race, but we're going to go to our first interview of the day, and despite his best efforts, well, it wasn't quite second, but third for Pauli Partonen, who joins us in the post-race interview show. Pauli, you had an epic fight with Togo Hisada there. Just talk us through it a little bit.
Yeah, first of all, great job, Togo. It was super good driving from you, and super happy that you were P2. I'm glad you're super nice guy and super funny guy. So happy to see you P2. And about the race, I just didn't have the pace at all. Like I knew it from the start that Togo will be faster, so I was not trying to push too hard against him. I was just trying to focus on my own race and on my own pace and trying to get better during the race, but yeah, it was not enough. And then I got a slowdown, I don't know, maybe 4 laps before the end, and yeah, that was it. There was nothing I could do anymore.
Yeah, I mean, track limits are very, very hard to circumnavigate around this very tight track, and as you said, a slowdown can cost you a position. And yeah, I think Togo's just really been stepping it up, but still, we've got another 3 rounds to go. We've got Hockenheim in just 7 days' time. The outer variation. Are you looking forward to that one, Pauli?
Well, it's not my favorite track, to be honest, but actually I have already loaded the test drive session and making the community setup for it, so I'm actually trying it right now. So of course I will do it and drive it, but not of my favorite tracks. But I don't know, with this new tire, usually I think that the races have been way better than it used to be, so most likely we will have satisfying race next week also.
Brilliant. Pauli, before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, big thanks to Henkel. Henkel was driving this season a lot with us, and it was nice to see somebody so fast here doing his best. And as we all can see, he was way better than any of us. So congrats on the champion. Very good job. I really tried my best, but it was not enough, sadly. And big thank you for Michael and Kimmo. We had fun on the chat and on the Twitch stream, so thank you for that. And thank you for you guys for broadcast. They're also a pleasure to see, and I'm hoping to watch it immediately after this. Thank you.
Brilliant. Pauli Partonen, our 3rd place finisher, still in the battle for 2nd in the Sunday Grand Prix Series F1 standings. And next up, we welcome in to the post-race interview show, Togo Hisada. Togo, glad to have you with us, and congratulations on a 2nd place finish. A good battle between you and Pauli there.
First, thank you so much. This is my best result in this season, so I'm extremely happy. I know the Pauli has a busy week this week, and he's not practicing much, much. So he's very that's very lucky for me because this is a very strong drafting track and also my favorite track. So it's just luck. But I am very very happy to make a move to him and finishing ahead of him. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm very happy.
Pogo, one of the big things that both myself and Joey have mentioned during the broadcast is your performance. Every single time we see you out on track, we see you getting quicker and quicker. I bet this has been a real big challenge to step up from the Lotus 49 into the 79, and through this season you have dazzled everybody that's been in the commentary box so far this year for this season about how your pace has increased. Can you just tell us how much hard work you've put into this?
Well, yeah, just I'm not good at the transition because this season I have a very good season for the 79, but the 49 is just now I forget how to drive in the 49s, and it's not the I'm not the multitask person. Just this new tire model, this new car feeling is very very good, and I'm fell in love with this car and enjoy to drive every day. It's not so much about how should I say but yeah, just enjoy to drive this car, and I think that's make me get used to this car very effectively. Sorry, but yeah, just enjoying driving this car, and that helps me a lot.
Well, Togo, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us here on GSRC. Well done on your second place finish. Anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Yep, GSRC broadcasting team and the Lotus 79 community and the Pauli. Thanks to this that great setup every week. Just I steal a lot. I steal a lot of the techniques and how to less craft and the setup from you. So thank you, Pauli. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Togo Hisada, our second place finisher there, finishing ahead of our driver that hit the final step of the rostrum, Pauli Partunen. But I think we are waiting for another interview post-race. No, I don't think we will have any words, but we have had it confirmed that this Season 1 champion has been confirmed, and Michael de Turk has confirmed it to us, that Andreas Henkel, with 3 rounds to spare, becomes Season 1 2025 champion. He didn't put a foot wrong all race, did he, Joey? He was just absolutely... He was monotonous. He hit every break point. He hit every apex. He put fastest lap after fastest lap. I think at least half the laps were done at qualifying style pace, and he put his money where his mouth is, let his racing do the talking, and he's wrapped up the season with 3 rounds to spare.
And he's done it all season long, right? It hasn't just been today at the Red Bull Ring that he has dominated. Out of all of the weeks that Andreas has shown up, there has only been 1 race that he has not won, right? Let that kind of sink into perspective there. Every single week he shows up, he wins. He stands on top. There is only 1 race out at Phillip Island that Pauli Partunen was able to beat him. So in my opinion, a rightful champion here this season.
Well, that means we have to call time on our broadcast here on the Global Sim Racing Channel for the Sunday Grand Prix Series for Lotus 79. You've joined myself, Alex Goldschmidt. Big thank you to the rest of the team, Joey Atterbury, our director, Daniel Costello, with cameras provided by Dougie Beard. More Lotus 79 action still to come, as in 7 days' time we head to the outer variation of the Hockenheim Ring on February the 23rd, 4:30 p.m. GMT, 11:30 a.m. Eastern here on GSRC. What's more, there's still plenty of racing action happening at the moment. Well, as we speak, we've got the major series at the Daytona Oval live as it happens, and you can click on to the other link on the Global SimRacing Channel. Upcoming, we've got our final round of the Driving Club at Road Atlanta Winter iRacing League, which will be taking place at none other than Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. That'll be taking place at 1:45 UTC on February the 20th, and that'll be just 7:45 Eastern on Wednesday the 19th of February. Grand Prix legends back in action at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, not Eastern, GMT, and 8:30 a.m. Eastern on Saturday the 22nd. And then the IMSA Vintage Series heads to the hills of Mount Fuji at the Fuji International Speedway on Saturday, February 22nd, 7 p.m. UTC, 12 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much to everyone that has joined us as we've crowned our Season 1 2025 Sunday Grand Prix Series Lotus 79 champion. His name, Andreas Henkel. Well, until next time, race hard, race fair, and if in doubt, well, you better go flat out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.